Okay. Well, good. Hello, everybody. Martin, it's good to see you on there. I am not sure if I'm breaking up or anything because I am in the hotel on MiFi, and yes, it's been obviously it's been a mad scramble to get it started. Martin, you're uh, good to see you on there. I don't know if we'll see Wesley if he sees the update, and but welcome everybody to another CutSec ICS Friday Infosec chat, October 21st, 2022. And I am in another state. I'm at another location, another site. Actually, finished up an assessment yesterday and doing a little bit of work today to kind of bring things together and kind of type some loose ends for what we're doing here. But hopefully, everybody had a great week, had as good a week as I did, and we'll certainly talk about it. So, Mark, if you want to type anything in and ask any questions, if I'm breaking up, I apologize. Hopefully, we'll get some people from LinkedIn. Hopefully, Wesley will see it. That we changed the link because the other one is not accessible. But it's yeah. So just sometimes we have rough starts, and we just have to keep up with it. But yeah, so let's talk about my week. Let's see what happened, and then we can certainly talk about Tell's week and talk about any topics that you want to. From my perspective, last week obviously we didn't have a stream, and I was so I was on site in Denver to teaching another class, ICS 410. And we had a lot of great individuals. Actually, it was one of the largest classes that I taught. We had 20 people in person, so it was good to see the people there. We had a wide distribution of individuals. We had transportation, as in train transportation. We had DoD. We had just a plethora of different natural gas and oil, manufacturing, a lot of manufacturing individuals in there. So it was good to see the cross industrial sector representation in the class, and everybody brought their unique perspectives to things. Probably one of the most interesting things that I got out of that is a newer respect for data diodes and just the how they can be used to solve problems in some of these areas. We had a student that was that had worked in the nuclear field for quite a while, many years. A huge fan of data diodes to solve issues when we were trying to get information out of an area, but you don't need the bidirectional communications and their implementation in certain situations. And saw that actually this week on site. A part of the communications went through a data diode to limit some connectivity. We have to evaluate some of the implementation, but that's a part of what assessments in this arena do, is evaluating those implementations and helping to understand the choice and either modify it to make it better or come up with some other compensating controls. Identify the gaps and go from there. So hopefully we've, and that's what I was doing this week, is looking at a natural gas station and doing an assessment. We did a walkthrough. So it was interesting to see a relatively new implementation of technologies, both from a physical security standpoint, walking through and seeing how they laid everything out, to looking at the implementation, that the vendor selected. It was one of those implementations where the vendors had did the full deployment, brought in skids, configured everything correctly. So hopefully I see the video going and hiccuping a little bit. Hopefully that is not too much of an effect. But we'll just keep going like nothing's happened. So let me know if you have any questions. Martin, say hi. Let us know what you had, that went on during the week. Maybe we'll have some people join us, jump on to LinkedIn and post some questions as well. But other than that, actually, while I was here, somebody pointed me to a pretty interesting um, uh, topic, which were Wi-Fi, drones, and financial. It was a financial hack that happened through some drones, and I actually have a let's see, let's go ahead and share our screen. Let's go over to one of our Chrome tabs, and this is out on the register. And so we can see if you how Wi-Fi spy drone snooped on a financial firm. So it seems like um, the teams were monitoring their internal infrastructure. Obviously, since they're financial, they had segmentation, but they did have the capabilities of people doing remote work and also provided a Wi-Fi network. And it seems that somebody got a hold of that user's credentials. And so what had happened is through monitoring, they had detected use of the user's credentials, both from home and at the location on the Wi-Fi network. And so they leveraged their Wi-Fi deployment to track it down. And I'm gonna have to read up a little bit more. There's a couple of different write-ups, but I wanted to point out the write-up on the registry. That I don't even know if that clicked over. I was looking at that. Hopefully that came up. So, that's a pretty interesting article, and how do you detect that? I mean, well, I think the example that I just described, which was the fact that they were monitoring the accesses, monitoring the what was online at the time, authentications from multiple locations, one and improbable uh, locations for those logins, meaning that they were detecting them from home, but also detecting them on site, through the Wi-Fi. And this goes back to the bullet points that I put in there, which is prevent, detect, and respond. So they're obviously had some prevention in place. Goes to their credentials, but they were monitoring. In other words, they had the monitoring set up, and when they saw something that was unusual, they responded to it. That's the thing that hopefully everybody can do a little bit better. Looks like Martin had a this is interesting. Martin, testing software network tap, which is meant to be used through a data diode. That's interesting. UDP and encrypted data going through it. So it's yeah, and testing the network stuff. Having understanding of network will take you far in this industry, especially in the control environment. I keep reminding people when they ask, what can I do to improve? What can I do to educate myself and make myself more valuable for the teams? And it was basically the first thing I tell them is networking. How strong do you feel on networking? Do you understand it? Do you do you know how to do analysis? Do you know how to break things down? If they do, I would start to look into things around actually improving network capture and network analysis and so forth. So network is extremely important. That's how we send that's how we get access to the attack surface. It's how we detect people accessing the attack surface. So networking knowledge is extremely important. And doing things like testing software network taps and so forth, or testing software and network taps. I imagine. I'm not sure if I understand the combination of the terms, Martin. The software network tap it would be interesting to hear you and see that if you're talking about kind of virtual networking from the standpoint of VMware or some other implementation like in the cloud, or if that's if I'm reading that slightly different. So, while Martin's piecing that together from the from the hiccups, one of the things I wanted to point out, and a part of what I did I was up late last night and this morning, and I finally I found a bug in the ICS PCAP viz. Basically, it was every bug that you have in a project, kind of a Python project that's doing analysis on something. It's a logic bug, and when you're going through and you're looping through the different packets, in this case that's what I was doing. I'm looking through different packets, looking for certain situations, and then storing it in storing that information into objects that are designed to feed into Neo4j and create a JSON output files. And I realized that I just had the logic set up incorrectly for that storage. And in the case that I found last night, I was basically stomping on all the data. And the data that got populated at the end, it looked legit, meaning that I had connections through a host. But the last version of that got updated for that packet basically stomped all the was getting stomped and or rather the last version was getting displayed, so it looked legit, but it wasn't having all the information. I fixed that and updated it. Also included a lot of scripts for analysis of information with it, which is in it. Pulling out things like DMP3 and some other protocols with the intent of furthering that associated with different protocols that are out there. So, yeah, Martin gave a response on some of the stuff he was doing. Software install on a device that mirrors the traffic to an interface. Okay. Is in Docker, so it runs on newer PLCs supporting Docker. That's interesting. PLCs supporting Docker. That's I don't think I've heard those terms were used together either, Martin. So I'm assuming the software PLCs and some of the other solutions that it's providing. And yeah, setting up a VPN server and monitoring the traffic through it. Yeah, that's really interesting from a research standpoint. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of data and you're getting a deep dive into all of the communications that are being exchanged between the softwares and the PLCs. I'm assuming that's PLC communications going back to the infrastructure that it's gathering and storing the data. Probably if it's some cloud, then it would be like a level 3, I would assume, control base. So monitoring and control. That would be my expectation at that level. But I imagine the potential for communication of field devices back. So a lot of interesting data. Those are the types of things that I really like looking into because it tells you exactly what's going on, and also, and that tells you what you need to attack it. So definitely have to look these up. I want to make sure I copy those and get a screenshot of that. So let's make sure we get a screenshot of that. And yeah, I like screenshots. It's extremely helpful when I can't type. It's not letting me copy it. But yeah, I'll check it out. It's the what did it say there? The Weidmuller U controller, Wagyu compact controller 100, and that Bosch. So I will definitely look those up. Always interested in new tools. I'm actually surprised that I haven't heard of any 3 of those. So you're looking at some really interesting stuff, Martin. And I hope you're finding some interesting things as well. Looks like they're running Linux and real-time extension. Okay, typically one. Okay. Nice. Yeah, that's some newer technology that I'm some implementations that I'm not necessarily familiar with yet. Clients just aren't using them, so it's hopefully we can get back around. Is that mainly is that for research projects? Is that a business, or is that as part of a university project? yeah, kind of probably a little bit of delay there, but yeah. So we'll see what Martin says when he comes back. Let's see. Let's see some of the other things that are going on out there. Let's share some. Let's go ahead and share a different tab. I want to share a different tab and show. There's some CVEs that are going, or there's some alerts that came out from CISA recently, and been kind of all, yeah. So kind of all. I see, uh, Martin, you're just okay, leveraging it for corporate or for personal and for research basis, and I can respect that. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so just kind of trying to come up with things to fill up our last 10 minutes. Here we see an alert that came out. I think it was last week. I was reading up on this and kind of interested in what was going on here. The top CVE that actively being exploited by China's cyber actors. And when we go through there, we can see that they have a list. Let's see, they've got Apache Log4j. I'm not sure if this is prioritized, meaning that the top one is the number one. Let's see if they say that, if they mention if they're prioritized. I'm not seeing it, but yeah. So it looks like Log4j is still being exploited. The Pulse Connect Secure. That's really interesting to me. So this one right here, I'm not sure if you can read it, but it says the Pulse Connect Secure CVE 2019 11 510, and that is a VPN. It's a Pulse VPN, and so. Typically on the external, remote access. And there's a couple of those. Let's see, Microsoft Exchange is being used, F5, Big IP, another that is potentially on our edge, providing access into our control environments. To another F5. So definitely looking at some of the network infrastructure to provide it, looking for provide them access and to do their capabilities. VMware vCenter, another vulnerability or in a system that we would see deployed within our control environments. But some of these are, it's interesting that they're on here, but they're, I wouldn't necessarily think that I'd see the Atlassian and Confluence servers. Certainly, those are things that are in our corporate environment that we won't necessarily see in our control environments, but they do have an impact. They are providing certain capabilities that our users are going to be leveraging. So, and then oh, excellent. Yeah, so looks like Martin, you're collaborating with some of the team. Or some of the people over there at the Cutaway Security Discord, and using some of the web, some of the projects that the different people are out there are helping with and posting within the Discord. Certainly, I wish I was able to look at those at Rosec's scripts a little bit better, but I have read some of person's write-ups and the what was it, the gas station write-up that he did recently, and we were able to collaborate and get him in contact with Stephen Hilt so that he can get a little bit better understanding of that. So I'm glad to see some collaboration in the teams there, and the uses of tools and stuff like that. So I'm glad that those connections were made. Let's go back over to the CVEs again, though. Let's see what we were talking about there. Yes, it's really interesting. This goes. The TTPs, obviously there's multiple vulnerabilities in Microsoft. Let's see if we can call up the CISA KV KEVs. Yeah, the KEV. All right, let's see if we can get this one sharing. And so this is, I'll post this in the chat. I don't know if, definitely will go out to the YouTube, but this is an interesting one that I probably need to pay a little bit more attention to and see what they're posting and see how I can get information from it, but where did it go? There we go. And yes, the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, and there's different ways you can download it: JSON version, CVS version. I'm surprised that this hasn't been updated with an API yet. I would assume that there's something associated with the National Vulnerability Database. Let's see if that's NVD KEVs. Let's see if the National Vulnerability does have this. Known exploited vulnerabilities. It doesn't look, let's see, let's share that out a little bit. Doesn't look like they've, I'll hold off on posting it just yet, but the National Vulnerability Database does have a website concerning that where they're posting things, but they don't have a search. What I was looking for is there's a search for, there's a search feature for CVEs and CPEs, but there doesn't look like there's currently a search for the known vulnerabilities. And I mean, we have a list here, so you can certainly go in here and we can start typing in different searches for items. You can also download the JSON versions and the CSV versions. And why that's important is because as a part of the TSA guidelines, organizations are supposed to be focusing on anything that is listed in here, any of the vulnerabilities. So when they get the vulnerabilities that are listed out for their that are associated with their organization or associated with what they've deployed, they should be checking for how to address that issue within their organization. But the guidance is specifically to compare that site, the known vulnerabilities catalog, and prioritize the either the workaround or the patching associated with those first. And that kind of makes sense because that just means that threat actors are actively doing that within actively exploiting things within the environment, and so they've that there's going to be malware with those vulnerabilities included and so forth. So but yeah, so let's take a look at that. Do we see anything interesting? And I don't know if these prioritize it. Just I'm just showing the last year. Let's click on the last 100 entries, so that'll update eventually. But I imagine what we're going to see here is a mixture of exploits that are being used within the corporate environment as well as the control environments. This one's interesting: Linux kernel privilege escalation. Privilege escalation, that just means that you have to be on the box to do something. So when remote code execution means you can do it from some other location, but once you're on box, if you don't have administrative privileges, then potentially leveraging these privilege escalation vulnerabilities will provide you that administrative access. It's just a matter of understanding how to implement that. So definitely gonna have to read up on that and see how they're doing it. Fortinet's got some. So are these the firewalls? So authentication bypass. Yes, I've heard about this. This is a significant issue that in Fortinet they pushed out urgent emails out to some of the personnel and to some of their clients to get these patched immediately. So definitely a high risk vulnerability right here. And as we can see, just this month, it's only been 10 days since it's been out, and hopefully people are patched as quickly as possible. Some Microsoft Complus, okay, Exchange servers. So interesting. Sophos firewalls. Anything that's affecting our enforcement boundaries is extremely concerning. When we should definitely be prioritizing those, because that's how threat actors are going to get in. They're going to go after the VPNs, the firewalls on our edge devices. They're going to be going after some of the servers that we might have posted on those edges, and certainly looking at both the applications and the operating systems for those. So interesting things to see here and to read up on. Another Linux kernel vulnerability, which is kind of interesting. These tend to affect different products as well. So the services that you might have running on your edge, the operating systems for those different devices, and can be affected by anything that's associated with kernels, whether it's Windows or Linux. So awesome. Well, yes, Martin, Fortinet too. So interesting things going on out there. It's definitely something we need to be keeping up on, and that's why we have these conversations. I did have some concerns, and some. What I really enjoyed about this week is, sitting down with the operators, walking through, and getting a kind of a overview of how they do things and what their expectations were and what they think that they did and didn't understand about what we were trying to help them with. Also sat down with the IT teams to work with them about stuff and get things improved and help them understand what, they had lots of questions about what recommendations were and what we're concerned about. But by the end of the week, we got we had a really good relationship, a lot of great conversations, and the one group that wasn't there that really needed to be there were the integrators, and certainly that's something that we need. It's more difficult to put them on, service level agreements, looking at specific things that they're doing, ensuring that they understand that, while they're on, while their stuff might be proprietary, it's still issues that need to be addressed, and they should be a part of the team. So I hope to see more integrators involved with these types of things, whether or not it's the company that didn't bring them in, or whether or not it's they didn't want to be there. I'm not sure about that, so I'm not blaming the vendor at all. But certainly they should be doing these types of things on their own for the clients. In my opinion, they should be doing it. So other than that, that's what I have going on this week. Hey, Martin, I really appreciate you joining me and making it so that I'm not just sitting here and talking to the wall in the hotel room myself. Very interesting things. I'm going to be looking at some of the technologies that you pointed me to, and I will definitely see you in the CutSec Discord. As soon as I turn it back on, I had to shut everything down so that we could get this going. But thank you very much, everybody that joined. If you joined on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter, it was good to speak at you. So I really appreciate it. I hope to see you all next time joining up, and hopefully I'll give you a little bit more notice next time. Other than that, have a great weekend, a safe weekend, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.